what does that conversation look like between the ISAs and then we had to understand what are the expectations of the ISAs, right? So I don't really call them appointments. I call them opportunities. Gotcha. They're basically setting opportunities for us. And then as the professional and as the expert, it's our job to convert them when we get that opportunity.
These are real buyers that will show up. We write letters for those. We're very specific in the letters that we write. So let's say it's Nick Baldwin. I'm going to write up the letter and it's going to say, hey, Mr. Seller, I've got a husband and a wife, Nick and Ann, and they're looking for this single family residence. It's in your neighborhood. And we obviously have Calvin joining us from, are you in Chattanooga right now, Calvin?
Yeah, Chattanooga, Tennessee. We'll be in Nashville tomorrow. That's one of the other areas we work. So we'll be there tomorrow. But our hub is in Chattanooga, Tennessee.
Yeah, because and we'll get into that kind of your story, your setup. But the topic today is for sale by owners, for FSBOs, right? FSBOs. So we got people interested in for sale by owner. Because you were able to get a really amazing result from that over a year's time with an ISA kind of helping you in that process. We want to know a lot about that. But I want to set the table for the topic really quickly, very briefly, and just talking about the shifting market. Folks, the market is shifting, right? And by shift, I mean more inventory, higher days on market, right? Less buyer activity overall. So we're seeing this change kind of across the board in the whole country. It's very different depending on what area of the country you're in, but everyone's seeing a little bit of that, right? More inventory, days on market going up. We're seeing less, offers come in for a lot of these properties. So that's a challenge. The good news is the for sale by owners are seeing the exact same thing, okay? The FSBO is facing the exact same challenges that any other seller is facing in this market, the exact same situation. And they're probably even more confused. They're even more frustrated because they don't have an expert, a pro, kind of helping them out with this process, right? But they're experiencing a lot of the same challenges, right? Even more so, right, than a regular seller. So again, the shifting market, it brings a lot of challenges. It also brings up a lot of opportunities, okay? So my very humble opinion, I feel that prospecting FSBO sellers in an environment like this is a lot easier than it was a year ago. I had a lot of my clients, luckily not Calvin, but a lot of my clients, they gave up on calling FSBOs a year ago, right? Or even in January, they go, Gus, this is just too hard. This is like, these guys are just too cocky. They're too arrogant. They're like, their homes are selling within 5 minutes in a lot of cases. So I'm not even gonna call these FSBOs anymore. And a lot of my clients are throwing the towel, especially in January. Like this is when we hit the lowest levels of inventory, like on record earlier this year, like, no, this is just too crazy. Well, guess what? Things have changed, right? The market has shifted. The market is different. We're in a much more interesting market to be calling these for sale by owners because they need help now. They need a professional. They need you guys, the people in this call today, people watching us today. They need you to reach out because their properties are not selling within 5 minutes anymore. It actually takes some skill to get these properties sold. And they didn't need that 6 months ago, 8 months ago, a year ago. They needed it less. They still probably needed it. They needed it less than they need it now. So I think it's a great time to learn this. And if you're here on this call, you're already ahead of the curve, right? You're interested. You want to build a skill set. You want to build a system to get this done. And you need help with this. I don't think anyone wakes up in the morning knowing how to convert for sale by owners into listings, right? Like anything in your business, you either lack the skill, you lack the mindset, or you lack the motivation, okay? So if you're not doing a good job with FSBOs yet, if it's not even a part of your plan, your business plan, your marketing plan, your prospecting plan, you either lack the skill, you lack the coaching, or lack that motivation, okay? Which one is it? Figure out which one it is, because the mindset, right? You can change. That's in your control. The skill set, you're on this call, you can build that skill. So there's a lot of great content and coaches and teachers out there for this kind of skill. And that motivation, you bring that to any part of your business. Okay. So anyways, wanted to lay it out that way. But let's talk about Calvin today. So that's really what this is about. So Calvin, tell us a little bit about who you are, what you've done, and just tell us, why are we here? Why are we talking about this? And a little bit of background on how you got started with an ISA helping you make these calls.
So I am the managing broker for our firm, the Premier Group, doing business as EXP Realty LLC. We service Nashville, Knoxville, North Georgia, and Chattanooga, Tennessee. Chattanooga is our hub area. We have a team here in the brokerage, the Premier Group, which is run by Portia Torregano. And then we have other individual agents and other teams which are in here. But my bread and butter is that team. I started it back in 2014, and she kind of took over just running it for us and leading it, and she's done an amazing job. But her and Macy Alley, they do just wonders with it. But to answer your question, with FSBOs, or how we got started with the ISAs, we were looking, I started to identify a problem that we had. We generate a lot of leads, and obviously with the access to technology nowadays, with laptops, tablets, cell phones, I mean, you name it, there's so many more people that you have to go through nowadays to find those low-hanging fruit, or those hot, ready, willing, and able sellers and buyers. And so an ISA just made sense for us, because if we're out in the field, we're not in the database. And so we had to, I started thinking about it. I was like, when I go to a restaurant, or when me and my wife and the kids go out to eat, I don't see the hostess also sit us and then try to take our order and then try to go back and make the food and all that stuff. So it really made sense to have specialized people in designated areas, so that they can be the professional in that specific area, or be the expert in that specific area. So I went through a number of programs, lost a lot of money in a number of programs. And they just did not pan out. And I'll be honest with you, I tried another one. I'm not going to mention your name. I tried another one earlier this year to work in conjunction with what we've been doing with you guys. And I cut them off. It was a different type. It wasn't in-house ISAs. It was a different type, just for the speed to lead. Because we're generating almost 2,500 leads a month for a small Navy SEAL team, right? So and the ISAs I have, they're primarily calling sellers. So I'm like, man, all these buyers are just sitting here from Google and social media and stuff. I'm like, no one's calling these people. So, and of course, we have automation in place and AI and all that other stuff to help us out with it. So I wanted to give that one a shot, because they had some nurture programs and things like that. But I'm just like, man, it's just for the value is just, I'm just better off with the program that we're doing, because we just get so many, our results are just so much more better. So, but that was why we got into the ISA service, or started getting in-house ISAs. And they're just like any other team member on here. They're on the meetings with us. We're off on holidays.
They're both Mexico-based, right? They're both Mexico-based. Those we got from them.
Say it again.
They're both Mexico-based.
Yes, we have Mexico and Philippines. Yeah, so we do both. Yeah, but Mexico-based too. And but they have same holidays we have, everything. But they're just like part of our family. But I love them because they're willing to do the stuff that I can't get the agent to do, and that's pick up the freaking phone. So I love that part about it. But so does that answer the question a little bit of how?
Absolutely. So let's drill down a little bit, because you have a lot of different lead sources, you got a lot of things going on. But you're one of the teams that I found that not every team does this, that they have both the inbound lead generation part of the business, well-developed, well-oiled machine, and they also have a prospecting part of their business that is a big driver of revenue, of appointments, of listings. So you've got both of those, which I admire. I tell everyone, every single person that's running a business right now should probably have at least 3 legs to their business, like a stool, right? Database, referral, recommendation, that's the core, that's the heart of it. Internet generation based and prospecting based. If you got those 3 legs in your business, the shift is not going to knock you off the bit out of business, right? you've got a strong, a stable business. You're positioned to thrive in a shifting market, not just survive the shifting market, right? So Calvin, tell us a little bit about that prospecting part of your business, and why for sell by owners. You've got all these internet leads coming in. I think a lot of people avoid the prospecting. They don't want to make for sell by owner calls. Why have you guys focused on that? How have you had that much success? And how did you incorporate the ISA model into that? Let's talk all things FSBO.
Absolutely. And I just went through and counted. I was looking from Monday to today, our ISAs have set 20 appointments for the team. That's between two ISAs. Just
two full-time ISAs, 20 appointments, and Thursday isn't even over yet, right? So 3.5 days.
Yeah. I know one of the agents, she got 4 or 5 appointments yesterday. And these are all seller appointments. These aren't even buyer appointments. These are all seller appointments. And so one thing it brought to my attention in the beginning was that, okay, we're getting a lot of appointments. I can listen, all of our calls recorded, so I listened to them and whatnot. It showed me a weak area that we had, which was our skill set with the agents, understanding how to convert and talk to so that we worked on that quite a bit as well. But to answer your question about, and repeat it again for the ISAs.
So I even broader than that, why did you guys focus so much on the for sale by owner process, right? Like why for sale by owner? Because you got all these inbound leads coming in. Those are great. Like, how did you still carve out a part of your business for sale by owners? Why for sale by owners? And how did you incorporate the ISA into that process? And we got another really good question popping in already. Let's start there. Like, why for sale by owner? How did you incorporate it into your process? And how did you get the ISA to help you out with that?
So when I used to teach lead funnel, I've always, when I got back into real estate in 2012, I learned early on that for sale by owners was my term for it, fastest source of business opportunity. Because when I teach agents about, the lead funnel, like, Sphere versus Facebook or social media versus Google versus portal leads versus expireds and all that stuff, they're already there. They're already on the market with their hand raised saying, hey, listen, I'm trying to sell my house. It's just a matter of, can we show them enough value to use us? And that was why they were the most appealing to me. It's followed by expireds. So that was why we got into the for sale by owners. It's just because they were the lowest hanging fruit of any lead source out there, because they're there, right? It just made sense. And I went on an appointment this morning that was set for me, and he's already signed some of the documents already. So it's super exciting. He's like, I put it on, but after realizing he's a firefighter, he's like, I don't want to do it. I was like, well, I don't know if you're aware of this, but you're always going to make more money with a good professional who understands the market. And we sat and talked, and he was really impressed and went from there. But that right there is why. That's exactly why. It's just because they're already there wanting to do business, right? It's not someone who just clicked on a Facebook ad because they were just scrolling and looking at other people's profiles. Yeah. And so one of the ads and just having to click on, and now they're 12 or, a year out or whatever. The FSBOs are there. And so what we had to do was, figure out what does that conversation look like between the ISAs, and then we had to understand what are the expectations of the ISAs, right? So I don't really call them appointments. I call them opportunities. Gotcha. They're setting opportunities for us. And then as the professional and as the expert, it's our job to convert them when we get that opportunity.
Yeah. And so Calvin, I want to make an emphasis there, because you just mentioned something in passing. That is such an important, I want to drill down on that a little bit, because I think one of the reasons people fail with for sale by owners, whether it's with an ISA or not, right? Whether it's with an ISA or not, is that they approach them, but particularly with an ISA, that they want a bunch of listing appointments from calling these for sale by owners. They want the listing appointment. Hey, my ISA is not setting a bunch of listing appointments. They're calling FSBOs all day. What's going on? Like, hold on, right? I think you might be doing the wrong approach with your ISA. I think the key thing when you're contacting these FSBOs, your first goal is to identify a for sale by owner that is willing to talk to you. That's the challenge. Okay, let me take it a step back from that. the first challenge is getting them on the phone and not having them hang up on you, right? You're telling them
Yeah.
that's number one, right? But number two is is the property still available, and are they willing to talk to you? That it's easier said than done. That can take 2 to 3 weeks to get some, and we'll drill down to the process. But Calvin, you just called it out. That is such a key part of it. It's not about when you're doing, I would say when you're doing cold prospecting, not just for sale by owner, it's not about the listing appointment you set. How many listing appointments you set off the bat? A lot of these are opportunities. Qualified seller leads. I call them qualified seller leads. They've got a property, they're motivated to sell, and they didn't hang up on you. That's a positive set of feedback. That's positive feedback, and they're willing to talk to an agent now or at some point in the future to help them out, right? So that's the name of the game. That's the initial part of the process, and that's where the ISA can add a lot of value. Do you agree with that?
Absolutely, 100%. Not just do that, but just again going through the haystack.
Yeah. Weeks to identify that seller lead. Weeks.
Yeah, because when I looked at it before we were doing it, it was like, of course, we'd come in prospecting. We still come in prospecting in the morning, but most of the time they're on appointments. Like they're usually booked on appointments. If we do lead days, and so whoever's day it is, like yesterday it was Dino's day, and she got several appointments, and so she's been on a listing appointments all morning this morning. I mean, hell, at 6 something, I'm already waking up to questions like, hey, how would I handle like this property, you know, before they get there? I'm just thinking. So, but you look at it like that, it's just they're finding those needles in the haystack, and really, I think the biggest value is just going through all these leads and helping us sort them out, and then finding, hey, here's opportunity 1, here's opportunity 2, here's opportunity 3. Doing it, the thing we don't have time to do right now because we're trying to convert these other ones that on the, you know, for the appointments that we're on.
Yeah. And Calvin, I say, as far as process goes, do they call any new for sale by owner like in Chattanooga? Do you have some criteria? Where do you get your numbers from? Do you have you're getting them up service?
As soon as the new for sale by owners come in, everything flows into our CRM. And so as soon as they come in, they call them. And that's the other part too. They also follow up with them. And they follow them after the appointments we go on as well too. So that's the other part of it. That's where a lot of agents drop the ball too. So the follow-up. So we may get an opportunity with a FSBO that they talked to 2 weeks ago. But because they have consistent follow-up, they're like, okay, you know, we'll go ahead and meet with your sales partner. And it's just because, and this may be the third or fourth phone call that they've had with them. So they call the new FSBOs every day. We get new FSBOs that come in. We use My Plus leads. You've got Red X, you've got Vulcan 7. You know, there's tons of them out there. Land Voice. But we use that, funnels into our CRM. It pulls in the expireds, the FSBOs, and then from there, the ISAs jump on them and call them every morning. They start with those first before they move on to the Google leads and everything else.
I got you. So you don't filter them by like neighborhood or price point. It's like, hey, if they're in our market, we want to talk. Essentially, is that it?
Yeah.
Awesome. Great. That's great. And what's that initial contact sound like? I mean, let's focus on the for sale by owner scenario. What are they saying to them? Because usually the FSBO, the first day they're on the market, the first week they're on the market, they've kind of got that. I mean, they're like, hey, why are you calling me? I'm going to sell this on my own. This is going to be easy, right? They might still be in that mindset. What does the ISA tell them? And what does that follow-up process look like, right? Because you said it can be 2 to 3 weeks out, 3 4 contact points out before they become an opportunity. So there might not be an opportunity the first time you talk to them.
No. It's a discovery meeting. You know, it starts off like, hey, we noticed you're selling your home for sale by owner, and wanted to find out how things were going for you. Our team works with a lot of buyers and sellers in the area, and just want to see how things were going for you, and let them talk. You know, we find out what's their motivation, what's prompting you to make this move, what's your time frame. You know, are you looking for convenience? Or are you looking for maximum profit? And would it in this crazy market right now, would it make sense to sit down with one of our sales professionals just to see what all your options are, just so you can get the home sold as quickly as possible and net the most amount of money? And we always let them know too, there's no commitment, but having all your options on the table is typically going to allow you to come out on top a lot, you know, a lot more times than not.
They're not saying the word listing. They're not saying the MLS. They're not talking about commissions. They're just saying, do you want to sit down with one of our teammates in this crazy market? Because it is crazy, right?
Yeah.
You want to look at
Most
your options.
unpredictable.
Yeah. Unpredictable. You want to look at your options to get the most amount of money for your property, right? That's like a universal yes, almost, right?
Yeah.
So, but they don't always go for it on the first try. They don't always go for it on the first try.
No, we don't discuss listing or commission or anything like that over the phone. That is up to the sales partner when they get out there to talk about that. It comes up. But what I found, especially in the last market, the last market was the market where people were trying to find the fastest agent to open a door for them. Now they're looking for people who actually have solutions to problems, right? Because houses are staying on the market longer. So that's we're going in from a place of curiosity and trying to get, sit down with them just to consult with them as a consultant and give them options.
I gotcha. And that's the first touch. That's the first offer you give them. What do the follow-ups look like? Because like you said, it can be 2 to 3 follow-ups. Is it happening once a week? Is it happening right after that weekend? What's your preferred method of following up? And what are they saying on these follow-ups?
We typically have them follow up every 7 days. Usually we try to do it every Monday. And we just ask them, hey, we should have them switch between text and phone call. And it's again, just inquiry. Hey, Gus, hope you had a great weekend. I'm sure by now you've probably received several offers on the property. Just wanted to see how things were going for you. And they're like, well, we haven't received anything as of yet. And that kind of just opens the door up for more conversation, right? Gotcha. Okay. Would you be willing to just sit down with us for 15 to 20 minutes and just see if there's an opportunity to help you, or at least answer some questions for you to see what it might take to get your home sold in today's market? And we'll let them know there's no commitment, no obligation, and go from there.
I got you. No, that's a no-brainer, right? The say yes. It's a very compelling pitch. It's like no commitment, very non-committal, very, are you open to finding ways to get more money for this property and navigate this crazy market? That's like obvious yes, right? You're giving them questions you're making it very easy to say yes to those questions, right?
Right. Absolutely. Absolutely.
And then they hand that lead off. They say yes. Second follow-up, third follow-up, fourth follow-up. They say yes one of those times. You're connecting them. Your ISA is connecting them with an agent on your team. That's the process, right?
Mm-hmm. So the ISAs have access to all of our calendars, and so what they do is they go on the calendar. And the way they ask the question is, what works best for you? Is it weekends or weekdays? Is it afternoons or evenings? We typically try not to schedule in the morning, but lately we've had to because they've been booking so many. Like, man, it's just been insane. So we typically try to do evenings or afternoons. So when they ask them that, then they look at the agent's calendar, and that's how they pick a time. We have 1 o'clock or 3 o'clock available on Thursday or something like that.
Perfect. No, it totally makes sense. And give us a little bit. You mentioned this at the beginning, Calvin. You said it wasn't just figuring out the lead source and the ISA process, follow-up and handoff. You said that you also kind of had to level up your team because that's the beginning of a conversion process. The ISA handing it off, an opportunity. It's not an appointment yet. It's not a listing appointment, right? It's an opportunity. So you're handing it off to the agent. What does the agent do at that stage, right? Your ISAs talk to them. Great. This person's willing to chat with you. They book a call for them. It's an opportunity. What is the agent? What's their job to do when they call them when it's just at the opportunity phase?
Well, since we have lead dates, they know the client knows which agent's coming out there, right? And so the agent calls and follow up and just says, hey, listen, Gus, we're going to be meeting with you on Thursday. My name is Calvin. Just want to call and introduce myself. See if you have any questions for me beforehand. Otherwise, I'm going to be coming out and meeting with you and sitting down, and I'll see you Thursday at 3 o'clock. And that's pretty much it. And then from there, they've got marketing material and some other stuff that they go over when they get there. But that's really it. Yeah. So the gentleman I met with today, he just bought the home a year ago, and he was not impressed with his last agent. But he, the stuff when we sat down and talked, I literally just asked him questions while I was there, and he talked. I let him do all the talking, and it gave me a lot of insight. And I was like, you know what? I really feel like this might be the best solution for me. And I explained to him why, and he's like, I really like that idea. Let's go with it. That's it.
For sale by owner, for sale by owner property?
Yeah. Uh-huh.
There you go, man. Yeah. So I love that 100%. What are the biggest objections you guys have to handle from these for sale by owners, Calvin? You know, whether it's the ISAs or the agents on these appointments, what do you have to be ready for when dealing with someone like that's for sale by owner? Because they're usually for sale by owner for a reason, right? There's something that's driving them away from talking to an agent, from working with their last agent, from finding an agent. What are those objections you got to be ready for when you go to these?
Some of them, I don't want to pay 3%. Like I don't want to say, I don't want to pay the listing side of commission, right? And as I explained to them, like, okay, well, I'm just curious if you is saving the commission on the listing side or netting more money the most important thing to you? Which one is it? And they say net more money. I'm like, okay, great. Well, at the end of the day, if I can give you more options that will help you do that, would you at least want to know more about it? Sure. It's like, how do you say no, or they'll say like, I don't want to list. And I'm very straight to the point. Like, well, I didn't ask you to list. I asked you if you wanted to know what your options were so you could get that home sold. And at the end of the day, if you decide to list, and that's up to you if it makes sense, but at least you'll have more information about what it's going to take to sell it in today's market than you wouldn't have if we hadn't sat down. And I mean, I just get straight to the point. We tend to sugarcoat and beat around the bush or try to bait and switch people. Just talk to people. Just be direct and straightforward with them.
The bait and switch makes it a really, bad experience for the seller. And it gives a lot of agents call reluctance because they feel that the only way to get in front of these for sale by owners, in front of these sellers, is, I've got a bunch of buyers. Let me go take a look. And again, I was taught the script. You were taught the script probably. It's like, hey, I've got a bunch of buyers. Let me just take a quick look at the property, right? I'm going to preview the property, and that's it. I'll bring you a buyer. Okay, great. And then once you're there, you go, well, how about listing the home? And then you're starting the relationship off with like under kind of false pretenses. So, it can be an issue. It can be an issue.
Yeah.
People don't like that. And most agents don't like that. They don't love starting off that way. And that's why the biggest issue with agents and FSBOs isn't the listing appointment, in my experience. It's not the listing appointment. It is not the setting the appointment. It's even calling them. Most people never even try. They never even try. And so, the first problem you have to solve is even talking to them, right? That's the first problem to solve. It's not, people don't usually have a listing presentation issue. It's like, you're not even making the call, or no one on your team is making the call. So there's no even opportunity to talk to these folks, work past some of these objections, have a real human conversation with them. What are their goals or fears or concerns, and walk them through a solution. Walk them back from, I don't want to pay a commission, to, I want to get the home sold, right? And if you can solve the problem for me, is it worth it or not, right? And that can only happen face to face. I've never seen it work any other way than being in front of them and getting there. But it's like even starting out is usually the biggest blocker. So Calvin, how did you get your agents? Because those sweet inbound internet leads are so awesome. How can you guys juggle both, right? Because I think a lot of people struggle with that. Most teams prefer the inbound internet leads because it seems more like, less of an edge, easier, if you want to call it that. How can you get your agents to do both? Your team seems to be able to navigate the for sale by owner, cold call scenario really, really well. And between the inbound lead nurturing follow-up process, how are you guys able to juggle both of those roles, both of those lead sources so successful?
Well, you talked about it, call reluctancy, right? So, I mean, to be honest with you, the agents don't call the FSBOs when they first come in. The ISAs do, and that's how we got around that. I mean, that was the best way to do it. They're more receptive to talking to someone who's already been warmed up, and less likely to say no or decline than someone that no one's talked to already. And so that's kind of how we got around that part of it, was just with the ISAs.
Love it. So it was reluctance to kind of get yelled at, cussed out, if people being rude to you, hanging up on you. That part of it was the most, reluctant part. Reluctant to that, right? Once you took that off the table, it's like, give me more. Like, give me
Exactly.
more of these opportunities. Give me opportunities, the opportunities. So it was like you took the edge off of it. You've got someone handling that on a daily basis, and it took a lot of that reluctance away. It sounds like.
Yeah, and that's how we did it. I still personally like calling visuals myself, but that was the best way to do it, was just to have that middle person in between the initial physicals coming in and getting to the agent, and that was where the ISAs really came in to play.
I got you. No, I love that.
And
No,
the
and
cool
that's
thing too is the agents will go back and listen to the calls too, and they have more insight as well, right? Which gave them more confidence before they actually talk to them. So record.
the ISA call for the appointment they just set.
Correct.
It was an appointment call.
Yes, and that helps out tremendously. So before they even call, introduce themselves, they always listen to, whether it be from the app or from the CRM, and listen to the call from there.
I got you. So they're going into it with a lot more confidence. It's like, hey, this isn't just a random person that they put into my pipeline. There's a real conversation that happened. This is a warm lead. This is a warm up lead. They're willing to at least take my call and see what we have to offer, right?
Yes. Yeah.
I love that's a very different approach. It's very different than like a cold list of FSBOs, knock yourself out, right? It's a very it's a difference between cold calling and inbound lead generation. Inbound leads are opportunities as well, right? Inbound leads are leads, right? Potential opportunities as well, even further behind that. So I think that can be a great way to get people to motivate them to actually, make those calls and connect. And Calvin, is the process very different for expireds? Does it follow a similar process for you guys?
Very
Like the
similar.
data comes into the ISA reaches out and hands off the opportunity?
Yeah, it's very similar. It's pretty similar across the board with that.
I got you. And does the follow-up process work differently with an expired and FSBO or no?
So FSBOs we do once a week. Expires can be a little bit longer, just depending on the situation. But we use what's called Smart List, and that tells us who we need to follow with every week or so. So yeah, it's a little bit different with the expireds because they felt like they've been burned, so the conversation's a little bit different too. They didn't sell the first time, and so that's more along the lines of where you're discovering the motive and everything behind the for sale by owner. That's more along the lines like where you're siding with the expired to discover why their home didn't sell together, and then what will it take to sell it.
I got you. Yeah.
We just got a $540,000 listing. So we did call night. This is really funny. We did call night Tuesday, I think it was, or I can't remember what night it was. And the home that just came off the market, and the lady had just went off on Brian. It was funny. It was another Brian that was working, and she's like, "Don't call my house anymore. Y'all didn't sell my house," and blah blah blah, all this stuff. And Brian was just like shocked, and I was like, "You know what? Get mad with her. Get mad with her. Just be like, listen, I'm super sorry. I'm not that Brian, because we're both with EXP. It was just a different EXP group. So yeah, I was just saying EXP group. So I said, you know what? Get mad with her. Don't call her back right now. Call her back tomorrow and say, listen, I apologize. We got off on the wrong foot. I really would like to talk to you and let you know, one, I'm not the other Brian, and why I was giving you a call and all that. Guess what? They signed the listing agreement yesterday.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
There you go. So yeah, absolutely, right. So there's opportunity out there, right? There's opportunity out there, even with this kind of crazy market, the shifting market. I think that most agents, like I said, the number one issue with for sale by owner and expires, it's even making the call, even attempting to make that call. And I think the people that are working through this shift, navigating this crazy market, the number one thing you can do to be successful in this market is have as many relevant real estate conversations as you can on a daily basis, period. And prospecting is probably one of the most efficient ways, to really make that happen. It doesn't take an enormous amount of effort or a huge marketing expense to talk to a seller if you're calling them, right? On a for sale by owner, on an expired, it's probably one of the most efficient ways to get connected with a potential client that there is. So you guys, so you guys made that call Tuesday night. This is an expired listing, and you guys signed it today.
No, they signed yet. It was Monday or Tuesday. I can't remember which one, but they signed yesterday.
Oh, yesterday.
Yesterday, at the end of business day yesterday. Yeah.
Even better. Even better. And was that like a recent expired, or was that like an age? You guys call the aged, what they call the older expired?
That was a recent one.
Oh, wow.
But we call them all. We call them all. The expires, we don't get as many answers as we do with FSBOs. We get a very high answer rate with FSBO, but again, that goes back to that funnel, right? They're on the market. They're going to answer every call because they don't want to miss that potential buyer. So it is a little bit longer process with expires, but yeah, that was a recent one.
I got you. Great. And for the typical, yeah, you're right. The time frame can be very different. Early on, those expires get overwhelmed. They have many agents calling them very, very quickly, and then it probably, kind of tapers off a little bit. But for the for sale by owner, what's a typical cycle you want to see? What's the happy path for the for sale by owner? From initial listing as a FSBO, when do you guys? What's your target to get them listed with you guys? The 2 to 3 weeks out?
Roughly about 3 weeks, roughly, if not sooner.
Okay.
We're seeing now though, so where it was for the ones that we did get when the market was extremely hot, it was about 3 weeks. Now we're seeing it within about a week and a half, roughly. Hard. And some instances the next day, like.
It's because the shift is actually benefiting you in that sense.
Yeah, I love this shift. I hate to say that I love it. I do.
Yeah. So I mean, and that's kind of the kind of mindset I'm trying to get more people into, Calvin. That yes, the market is shifting. Yes, there's some challenges that come with that. But if you start don't panic. Don't get carried away with sentiment or the narrative. There's a narrative out there, right? And the narrative, and you see this, the narrative from the media, the national media, is like, it's not like what's going on with the market. It's they only want to ask the question, is this crash worse than 2008? That's the narrative. That's the one we want to drive. It drives more attention, right? So if you get caught up in that narrative, it's doom and gloom and this is the end of the world, right?
Right.
And you miss the opportunities out there. You miss the opportunities out there. One of them, the one we're talking about today, for sell by owner. For sell by, you're seeing, I love that data point. You're seeing the sales cycle get shorter with for sell by owner.
Absolutely. So we I will say this too, the Google leads have been pretty good as well, but I have the ISAs calling the for sale by owners right off. I've even got them going back through older ones too, just to make sure we're doing a massive database cleanup right now. So we took everyone, we've got about 35,000 people, and we took everyone that was not interested or not ready, and every pipeline, put them all back into qualify. And then we separated the list up amongst each of the agents. And so the ISA has just been going through, just knocking them out on the dialers.
Yeah. And did you do that because when those leads first came in, the market, you had it on the market and the market shifted? Was it like a maintenance thing? Why did you reset a lot of these lists?
One for organization, and for cleaning up too. So when you clean up your database, you tend to find a lot of gold in there, right? Yeah. Some agents were on the team, some agents weren't, aren't anymore. And so, some of them could have dropped the ball and whatnot. So it's just basically just to clean up. We do it every year. But you'd be surprised at how much gold you find there when you do that.
Yeah, no, you go back, the uncontacted, the swamp leads, the pond, if no one's calling that, and it looks like you have so much lead flow coming in, even with an ISA team, you've got a lot of those opportunities kind of laying out there. The more you've got in that pond, in that swamp, there's definitely going to be some people there because they might have been top of funnel 6 months ago, a year ago, 2 years ago. They might be further down in the funnel now, right? So yeah, definitely, I agree with you. You can definitely find a lot of gold in those projects, right? So Calvin, one last question before we finish up. And I'm sure people are curious about this because they're hearing these crazy appointment numbers and your agents are kind of overwhelmed. What are your top lead sources fall of 2022? Let's talk about the fall of 2022, right? It's a different season now. It's not January, it's fall. What are your go-to lead sources right now? I'm sure FSBO is one of them because you're getting a better opportunity with them. What are the other lead sources that are killing it for you right now in the fall time?
So FSBO is definitely number one because we're very seller heavy. Number two would be Google. Number 3 would be older social media leads.
That
Um,
rekindling activity you guys are doing,
right.
right? So when you say Google, is it Google home valuation, Google buyer, or like both?
No, we just do Google buyers. We don't do any seller ads.
Gotcha.
Because
Google
what we
buyer.
found is
Perfect.
a lot of the sellers actually start off as buyers anyway, but we do, when they register, we do have extensive, I'd rather get less leads, less higher qualified leads than more lower qualified leads. So we have extensive lead forms they fill out to help us understand what's going on. And I'd say more than 60% of them are typically sellers already when they're searching and doing that. Right. So it's just a matter of asking the question, hey, when we find the perfect home, do you have a property you have to sell first? I talked to a lady yesterday and she's like, yeah, we're looking to downsize. And it just in the comments, I started hearing those cues. And come to find out, she's got a $1.2 million house they're trying to sell. And they're looking for something around $500,000, a one-level rancher. And I'm just like, gotcha.
There you go.
Love it.
They want to be done with it. Right?
Yeah.
All deal, and no more. It's awesome. That's pretty cool. It's pretty cool. So yeah, as always, I believe I'm a true believer in that. The most efficient, cost-effective way to generate sellers is to generate a lot of buyers, qualified buyers, because a good chunk of them are always going to have a home to sell, 100%. So awesome. Calvin, thank you so much. I appreciate your time today, sharing all of these nuggets with everyone. If people want to continue the conversation with you, they want to learn more about, just an amazing kind of system. We didn't even get into the CRM part of it, right? Because you built an extensive, CRM installation to keep this team running like a well-oiled machine. If you want to continue the conversation, find out more about you, what's the best way for them to connect with you?
You could send me an email. Email's usually the best. I get so many phone calls every day. So email's usually the best. It's Calvin at ChattanoogaPremierHomes.com. Or you can go to our website. You can find it on there, ChattanoogaPremierHomes.com. But yeah, email is what I typically like. My Instagram is Your Realtor Calvin. On Instagram, that's my Instagram handle.
Okay, awesome. Calvin, thanks so much. It's always a pleasure. I learned a lot during this call. I hope people learned even 10 times more than me. It's a great topic, and I appreciate your willingness to share. And always be talking about the latest and greatest information you got. So thank you so much, man.
Yes, sir. Thank you.